In Australian politics, climate, carbon and energy has been a real central pillar.
We are fundamentally committed to climate change.
Climate change policy has really been a bit of a killing field in Australian politics.
There was no government in the world like the Australian government which threw its every energy at bringing about a global deal on climate change.
This whole carbon tax thing has been argued out over a period of at least 4 years.
It's really started back in 2006 when we had this immense drought around Australia.
2007 election, we had both major parties supporting an emissions trading scheme, but then during the course of that parliament, when the Labor government tried to implement it, there was a revolt against the then Conservative opposition leader Malcolm Turnbull. So he got overthrown by Tony Abbott.
It's been a tumultuous week.
And then people started to realise, well, actually, it's not all warm and fuzzy with climate change. You have to pay something.
Then Kevin Rudd failed to get his scheme through the parliament. He got overthrown by Julia Gillard. And she went to the next election, won the election. During that campaign said there would be no carbon tax under a government she led.
There will be no carbon tax under the government I lead.
After the election was forced to change the emissions trading scheme a bit, so it began with a fixed price, which is effectively a tax.
And now is the time to get this done.
Putting a price on the carbon pollution produced by our biggest polluters.
So then it became an issue of her credibility, really, rather than carbon pricing.
Then the fear campaign starts.
Putting her hands on her heart, she said, there will be no carbon tax.
And just a few months ago, she got overthrown by Kevin Rudd again.
I congratulate Mr Rudd.
And now we've got another election which both sides, or certainly the coalition, is saying is a referendum on the carbon tax.
The whole argument for a carbon tax is lie after lie after lie.
We're this sort of hotbed of for and against these issues.
We're tackling climate change and the preservation of workers' rights.
So Tony Abbott uses the term toxic tax all the time. I mean, if you think about it, it's very difficult to really understand what that might mean.
Toxic new taxes. Toxic tax. Toxic tax. Toxic tax. Drop the toxic tax.
If you take the politics out of it, it really wasn't that big an economic disruption to the country at all. And I think the Labor Party has almost ceded the field, really failed to argue the merits of a market-based scheme.
The carbon tax is still pushing up prices.
We'll fix that.
So in terms of him trying to repeal the carbon tax, this is really interesting because it's not a simple feat because he has to go through the Senate. I mean, really, if he doesn't, he'll start to get in that whole long line of politicians who have been buried because they've tried to do something on climate or not.
And I really think the voters of Australia would be very, very happy if they didn't hear about it again. But unfortunately, that's unlikely to be the case.
This is going to be going on for years.